My name is Elmer J Hawkins Jr. I was not born in a city at all. I was born in a farmhouse in Jefferson County. It's in Illinois. It was my grandparent Richard's house, and my mother had gone there for delivery, and my sister was there with us, with the family, and my father naturally, and it was June the 15th, sometime between midnight and I would say 4 or 5 o'clock, I was born. I remember one day the teacher sent my class out together. It was fall of the year, and she sent us out together, something that we thought we'd like to have to remember. Oh, I found a plant with some very pretty red leaves on it. And those red leaves, I pulled them all off and took them had them in my desk. Well, it turned out there was poison ivy. And I got home, and my poison ivy started breaking out, and within 2 days, I could not see. My eyes were swollen shut from the poison ivy. My father carried me to the doctor in Kell, Illinois, which was about 3.5 miles away, and carried me back. And I was, as I said, I was about 7 years old at the time. We had a pasture behind the house where we were living, and it was fenced in. And friends of ours had a Shetland pony, but they didn't have a place to keep it. So Dad told them they could bring it out there and put it in that pasture. The pony was it was called Shorty. That was his name. But I used to ride that pony up and down the hill, and one day I got him out to the road, and I got him running as fast as he could, and I stood up in the saddle. I didn't have a saddle. I stood up on his back and rode him down the hill going full speed without falling off. I don't know how I did it, but I did.
Did you have a harness, or were you just...
He had a bridle.
Okay.
But I went down, and it was one of those incidents. And then another time, after we moved from that place to a place at the toll road, which is a highway, not a road. It was just an oiled road, and had the pony over there. And we had a big tree in the backyard. We had a pasture. There's a big field behind us. There was a little pasture. We kept the pony there. And I remember one day I liked to go out and ride him, but I would play like I was Tom Mix or the old Ranger or something like that. And I would ride that pony as fast as I could underneath the tree, and I'd reach up and grab the branch and pull myself off the pony as he was roping. And I never got hurt doing it. I don't know why. I told people that I had this hen, and that she was the most interesting hen you can imagine, because if you held a red cloth up in front of her, she laid red eggs. If you held a blue cloth up, she laid blue eggs. If you had a green cloth up, she held yellow eggs. But I said I made one big mistake. I held a patchwork quilt up in front of her, and she died trying. And then whenever the war started, I can remember that day very distinctly. It was Sunday afternoon. About 3 of us boys my age were sitting in the local filling station, gasoline station, and having Cokes or ice cream Dixie cups. And the news came out that the war had broke out, that the Japanese had bombed Pearl Harbor. And whenever that news, the radio was on in that station, their room, and we all heard it, and we got quiet, very, very quiet. And then we decided, without saying a word, we all walked out the door, went our separate ways. And I went home, and Mom and Dad were they were listening to a little table model Philco radio that we had. And they had heard the news. And they knew what was going to happen. And it did. Because the National Guard was called up to defend the country, the 33rd Division, Illinois National Guard. And they were organizing an Illinois Reserve Militia. At 16, I joined that Reserve Militia. After they were called up and we got their duty, and I got older, I knew that I was going to have to go into service of some kind. My father had been a Marine in World War I. He had served in 5 different battles in France. The last battle he had fought in was Belleau Woods. Now then it was my turn. They took us to the docks in San Diego. Got there probably about 8 o'clock in the morning. And they put us in formation out there, and there was a ship that was tied up at the dock, had been a luxury liner that people traveled to and from Europe on. The name of the ship was the USS Lorelei. But we sat there from 8 o'clock in the morning until, I would say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon before I boarded the ship and went to my quarters. And shortly after that, we sailed. And I can remember standing at the rail of that ship, and I had $5 in my pocket. And I sat there and I said to myself, I'm never going to need these again. So I tried to see how far I could skip them across the ocean water. So outside of San Diego, there's $5 there in the ocean that belonged to me. Now, I thought I was lying down in the shade of one of the gun tubes where the anti-aircraft guns were on the ship. And it was shady whenever I laid down, but it was hot. We were maybe 10 degrees south of the equator. That's all we were. So it was a very hot place. But I took my shirt off, and I used it for a pillow. So I'm lying there like that, and the ship swung at anchor. So I'm no longer in the shade, but I'm laying in the sun. And I got sunburned like you wouldn't believe. Well, now then, getting sunburned was something that you could be really chastised for. The captain could give you what they call geo time. But because of the fact that I had stayed up so long, 72 hours without sleep, the captain did not give me geo time. So I got by lucky again. And also, I think he wanted to keep me operating as an operator. Because there were 2 of us in the company, there in the radio section, that could send and receive copies, stuff the fastest. And I don't think he wanted to lose me. So he never chastised me. But I can remember playing poker one night. I won $400. And I put it under my pillow on my bunk. And I made my bunk up, and I went to the radio station to do my job. I come back, and all my money was gone. So I didn't get to enjoy that $400 at all. Right to my families, and my censors had everything that you wrote had to be censored. One of the officers in the company had to read every letter you wrote, everything you sent home, and they would cut stuff out of it with a razor blade. And they'd cut this section out or that section out, so they didn't know exactly where you were at. And I remember whenever I was overseas, and the combat was going on, and Dad got the letter was all cut up like that. he knew that I was in combat. Because he had been there and he knew what happened. So he immediately, he was in the VFW, so he immediately put me into the VFW, signed me up, and paid my dues. So from January of 1943 until present, I've been a VFW member. Probably the longest of anybody that's alive right now.
Probably.